probability that it's there, but I think a Muradin seems much more standard here.
It is a pickle. Yes.
Ready for action.
You don't need a ton of playmaking potential with this composition. You have Swabs to come in for the flank, play the global, Falstad to match it on the other side. And so he can come in and make the plays on the backside, hit that isolation potentially on a Malfurion, lock down some of that, maybe even a Blaze to take Bunker out of the equation. Muradin obviously can get the stuns on the front line, has a pretty tanky health pool, very, very tanky post 13 when he gets healing static. Probably not going to see Playmaker, but always something to consider.
I think Muradin will have an easier time than the first game. There's no Stukov to root him. There's no silence to keep him from using Avatar, from getting value out of healing static. But there are still ways of interrupting him and stopping him out of Dwarf Toss. And Fury just might take the Fury very aggressive role and Dwarf Toss in anyway to look for the Stormbolt and set up his team. In which case, don't have to worry about Dwarf Toss getting interrupted if you used it to start. But I think that there still could be a problem for him, especially Falstad having Giant Killer as a possibility at 13 and a lot of damage. Fury will have his work cut out for him, but probably likely a very different game for him than the first game.
Rhaegar full on cleanse, not nature's cure. So even if there was a silence, at least you can walk out of that one a little bit easier, but that's not going to be here. HeroesHearth, though, Gilly, finds themselves up 2-0 after a highly contested first game. Made pretty easy work of LFM in the second. I think, as we heard from Ishbu during the interview in the lead up to this game, said that they have aspirations to be at the top of NA, and if they want to be there, they need a 3-0 or 3-1 LFM. They're going to have their opportunity now. Everyone
talks about how important consistency is for a team. You can come in, you can win a match, like Simplicity versus Endemic, but it's can you continue to win from week to week? That's what sets the top of the standings apart from the rest. We've got some change-ups and builds that I want to discuss as LFM gets ready to invade the eye, looking for that aggression. We saw Rising Storm the last Rhaegar game, now getting Electric Charge to have an increased radius for Lightning Shield. Stormcaller at level 4 gives you higher possible mana back, so we'll see how much we build into, or Aware builds into Lightning Shield, but also Gathering Storm, J-How.
Yeah, Gathering Storm is one that if you hit heroes, it's going to stack that up. It's not exactly the old, this was much stronger back in the day, but one of the recent changes is that whenever you hit a hero, you get mana back. So if you're going to go into more of a mage stat build, which we're going to see here, then it does give you an opportunity. That's why you see Arthlon, he puts it out, it counts both when it goes out and comes in. Fury, nice Dwarf Toss over to try and get the body blocks. There's going to be the Drake, there's going to be First Blood. Nice play there by LFM, but for Arthlon, it's going to be important to make sure and land those on multiple targets. And now I wonder, you mentioned Giant Killer, which still does have quite a bit of impact, but is this going to be appealing enough to go into that cooldown reduction at 13?
Yeah. I think for sure Flow Rider, now that we've seen Gathering Storm. And with the large amount of damage that can do and the long range of it too, maybe more of a focus toward the backline of LFM, or if a Rhaegar, if the Aware gets a little bit too aggressive, jumping in with a Feral Lunge. Giants claimed by HeroesHearth Esports, focus there. LFM changing things up from the normal way that we see the mercenary rotation go prior to the first temple phase, getting their bruisers early. Let's see if they can get some damage done in that top lane and then maybe combo that with the top temple.
Yeah, I think one of the problems that we've seen is that you do get an early advantage here, but it requires you to a significant amount. I think the one thing in favor of LFM is the fact that wave clear, Falstad and Li Ming is not that great at clearing camps such as this. Their AoE damage, not that great. Li Ming trying to throw spells into that spell aura. From that, as you can see, Fury actually walked forward to try and eat some of that damage. This keeps it alive, but what we've seen in return is teams start to make a concerted effort to stall theirs and then push in that top lane afterwards the minute LFM rotates down, and then all of a sudden it goes from just getting a fort wall to an entire fort with that temple.
Well, the front wall is all but down as HeroesHearth can back off and get their own bruiser camp. Eye controlled by LFM lets them set up for the rotations between the temples and choose where they want to make their stand faster, which is why we see Ishbu go forward and trade that out. We're going to see that continue throughout this next temple phase. Now remember, LFM, they have the global, and because they got their bruisers first, they have the giants that can push along with that Dahaka in the bottom. So if they can forego a team fight, then they can get a lot of damage done with that. It's just if Heroes Hearth can force Dahaka to come up.
This is a very good rotation. We'll see. Blaze should respond to that bottom, at least initially. And as you said, see if LFM can make use of that Dahaka. But again, the bigger concern is going to be this wave here, as the Temple has already helped from that earlier damage, has taken down the entire wall. Good return damage. Keeping Jaina here in the top lane. Very, very good for LFM as they now mitigate some of this damage. The fort still going to be under siege, but you can see the clear advantages towards getting one versus the other.
Yeah, LFM didn't bring Dahaka up. The soaking was more important for them, even though they did force Heroes Hearth to keep Blaze down in the bottom. Rhaegar's just been on the mid-temple, though. So this is a flat trade in the temple, but because of the siege that Heroes Hearth had done, they almost take down the fort in the top. It should be able to step forward, throw out some skill shots, and take it out.
Again, that's the difference about getting an early night camp versus not getting an early night camp. But we've got Dahaka coming in for the brush talk. Fury putting damage onto BBJ, as is Droplets, almost getting the takedown. Well's going to be tapped. BBJ makes it out alive, but the advantage clearly in favor of Heroes Hearth in terms of initial XP and where we're at. Again, structurally, it's going to be fairly even if you look at the total health bars, but taking that fort down, I think it's definitely something that teams have to be very weary of if they want to get that early night.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. It may have just been how long it took to clear out that bruiser camp for LFM, but surprised that they didn't try to fight harder for that top temple, given the fact that they're the ones with the Dahaka. Now, instead of the Dahaka being able to siege in that top and the top four, and granted there is a global having Arthalon for Heroes Hearth, but not being able to try to siege that down during the next phase when everyone's in the bottom. And this gives Heroes Hearth more of a lead in experience, though LFM are trying to do something about it. Body blocks for Fury really good, but it's Ishbu, and that is a hard target to take down, J-How.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was, it looks like they wanted to stay in that, but Droplets ate a massive combo from Li Ming, took the shield off, what was remaining of the shield, and a little bit of that health, and like, look, we can't stay in the fight. But Fury looking for another. Roots go down again. Fury just barely able to get out.
And that changes post-10. Twilight Dream is the silence, if BBJ wants to go that route.
I want to point out something Fury actually just did. If you're a Muradin player, one of the best things you can do, wait for that third wind to kick in before you tap well. You want to make sure and get value out of that. We see sometimes people just, oh, well, I'm low health, I go tap the well. Wait for the third wind or the second wind if you didn't go the talent. Wait for that to kick in, then tap well. You could see his health bar went almost all the way up to full just off that. Knowing that definitely gives him an advantage.
Temple activating in just a few seconds, but with Heroes Hearth so close to 10, LFM can't afford to be caught there without heroic abilities. They are down 2 games in this series, and that would be a place where all of a sudden this game gets blown wide open in Heroes Hearth's favor. So they're going to go and get their camp in the top, getting the bruisers with the Dahaka, and then even working on their giants too, and then expect things to change up once they get heroic abilities and get back in the action.
Here we are. I'm guessing we're going to get Avatar, but we are sitting on that heroic, and whether we get Haymaker, we're about to find out. Fury goes in, bullies Johanna off the point, see if we get the re-engage. Dahaka, again, still pushing that top. You can actually see just on the mini-map, Falstad forced to respond there. And now, if a fight does break out, look for Dahaka to come in. But with Li Ming and Malfury in mid, it looks like Heroes Hearth willing to forgo the rest of this temple.
They're going to play this out. They know they have an advantage structurally, which is a big advantage when you're talking about Sky Temple, but because some damage was done to the front towers, this is a game much like the first game between these two teams, a lot closer. Good recovery from LFM despite losing that top fort so early on.
The Muradin little as he met Johanna coming through the bush. There's going to be another Stormbolt landing. Sitting at 12 stacks, 13 away before he gets the Pierce on that for even more control. But camp now being picked up here by Heroes Hearth, trying to get a little bit of map control of their own. Top and bottom temple, no boss attempted yet. We don't have really any crazy boss clear. I think 13 Icy Veins Jaina is probably going to be your best bet. So I don't think we're going to see any sneaky kind of backdoor boss attempts anytime soon until the damage starts to really ramp up.
was a little bit surprised to see Ring of Frost for LFM. It combos really well with Purification Salvo because you have the slow after the fact, and anyone who crosses that ring that persists on the ground. But with a Gust, the Twilight Dream, and with Bunker, I think HeroesHearth should be able to avoid all that. It just depends if LFM maybe can funnel some of HeroesHearth into a choke so that they do hit a lot of targets from that, because this is a team that can sort of spread out.
Yeah, I agree with you. We'll see if they do have that opportunity there as the fort under assault. Just barely surviving. Fury going in. Here comes the isolation. That's going to be used. Gust for the disengage. There's going to be the bunker. Do we get the ring?
Yeah, if he can step forward, there's going to be the ring. Droplets moves forward too. Doesn't use the Purification Salvo. Now drops it, and they do take down Johanna. Yep. LFM Esports lose their fort, but they get a kill.
Swabs managed to get another drag onto that. That worked out really well. Dahaka, he's going to go ahead and Hearth back, deal with that camp that we'll be pushing at the top. Temple's active with no Johanna here, no bunker available, no Gust available. LFM is going to try their hand, see if they can get here. Dahaka ended up, I believe, canceling that, recognizing he did not have another Brush Stalker to make it back for the boss, so heads up call there to delay that just momentarily.
Swabs is a beast on Dahaka, and he is such a good player. The isolation that forced the bunker, trying to make sure that HeroesHearth could stay alive, that was earlier on, and then LFM could come in with the combo. That was well done. Not to mention the drag that you said ended up sealing the deal. Now LFM finds a moment, has hit their stride in this game. They take out the first fort and are using the temple that is still in this bottom lane. However, HeroesHearth Esports, they quickly move Falstad up in the top so that they can still get some temple damage, and because of this, they're still massively ahead structurally.
Yeah, Johanna just playing the anchor position. They have the eye, which gives them vision, but Johanna also creates any type of dismount or advantage in that area. And you can see the temple's finally starting to take down the forts on the side of HeroesHearth, but as you mentioned, the keep damage or keep wall damage, and I believe it is working in towards the keep, maybe the keep wall at this point, does start to stretch that structural lead in favor of HeroesHearth.
It does, but that got a lot of the forts down, a lot more than even maybe I realized about. Between the early damage that LFM did with their bruisers in the top lane and the control that they've had over the lanes, getting out all of the forts between the boss and that temple has helped LFM significantly in this game. This is their battleground choice. It's awesome to see that despite having bringing in Droplets and Fury, that they still feel comfortable here, that this is still a place where they can make plays and maybe even take games off of a team as formidable as HeroesHearth.
It's going to be double temple phase again, and they're both going to be targeting. We'll have the mid one. If they choose, it will target that mid temple, but I'm more curious about the bottom one because there was already a little bit of damage done in that bot lane. Will LFM try and prioritize that, try and manipulate that, and see if they can work that to their advantage? Another thing, as you mentioned, we're going to go Mage Stat. We do get Flow Rider at 13, so cooldown reduction on those abilities so long as your trait is active.
LFM choosing to hang around McIntyre, waiting in the wings.
Oh,
has his eyes set on Figgy with that oil spill and the jet propulsion.
Ring of Frost is going to be used. They're blinked in. Krone actually blinked into that, but he's under no assault just yet. Hops into the bunker. Salvo going to catch 3 members. Twilight Dream in return. Ancestral is going to land just in time, but there is the nerfed Ancestral. Gilly Fury surviving for now. Can he make it?
He hit 16, used his proc. Gust now turns everyone onto Swabs, who just gums in and takes out Falstad. Fury healed up, back in action, dives in after BBJ. Ishbu's going to be dragged straight into the Lion's Den. These drags are insanity. Swabs, are you kidding?
He's making it happen. There's going to be a camp, the snap rotation over here for HeroesHearth, taking an advantage. They're going to get a little bit more structure damage in, already sending Dahaka to that mid-temple, and with 20 seconds still left before Johanna, another 10. Remember, Falstad did use his flight there to get that mighty gust, and I'd say that that's an opportunity he might wish that he could have back.
Amazing patience from Droplets too, waiting until Bunker was completely down before scanning and dropping a lot of damage on HeroesHearth. The Ring of Frost was used fairly earlier on, so I'm not sure how much slow for the extra damage they got out of that, but now HeroesHearth does what they want to in that top lane. As the respawns start to happen for HeroesHearth, they just rotate back out. The rest of the team in the mid to get the temple there. Dahaka's going to deal with the push in the bottom lanes. That bot is still a point of contention, especially if HeroesHearth doesn't want to take keep damage on that weakened bottom lane.
Yeah, again, I think the bottom might have had more priority, but obviously this is going to be a very easy path. And speaking of easy path, that's going to be an easy kill.
Dahaka stopped here.
Yeah, this is going to go from bad to worse. LFM starting to lose control a little bit of this game. Droplets is going to warp out. You can see HeroesHearth and team. Nice. Throw under to make sure that do not eat that full combo.
Maybe thinking that he'd have a little bit more time before Jaina went down. Either way, now this is not a chance for LFM to steal some of those shots from the bottom lane. HeroesHearth get the rest of mid. They're getting both camps in the bottom. This will slow down rotation in from LFM. 40 seconds left until the boss, but there's the temple to deal with in that bottom lane, and it's HeroesHearth who gets onto it.
It's a full temple, so this is going to have a significant impact on this. One tower goes down, focus the gate's going to take down the second tower. I don't believe at this point it should take down the keep, but it just opens up a win condition. Another boss pushes through, another fight comes through. And I think LFM, they might want to consider fighting here. I don't think that they have to, but they definitely, that's double giants. They've got to clean this up before they try and make any type of move.
Clear that out and then prepare for the boss fight. LFM choose to forego the shots here so that they don't deal with losing a fight, losing the shots, losing the boss, and then probably the game. They're still ahead in experience, and they didn't lose the keep here, so they can immediately get into the fight here if this was the call for HeroesHearth.
Fury Avatar is out, trying to get some healing static value. He's going to Dwarf Toss in, get the stun. No boss procced yet. It's Fury going in deep, and they are looking for an opportunity to maybe capitalize on that as the heal comes in. Swab's looking for an opportunity as well, unable to find it. Droplets and team, however, trying to move around, see if they can find it again. Fury, got to be careful, doesn't have the same save buttons that he did before.
Yeah, having that lane push in your favor keeps from the flank possibilities happening against you as easily because you have the vision over that lane. And HeroesHearth are doing their best to keep that in both lanes as they rotate up to the mid. No one really wants to start this boss, given that nobody has 20, but LFM still has a slight experience advantage. It is only slight, though. HeroesHearth are catching up pretty quickly just purely because of their great rotations from mid, or from bot to mid, and now bringing Arthlon to the top.
This is very reminiscent of our first Towers game, where it's pretty even, and one boss fight at this point will end the game, I think, if HeroesHearth does take that, and alternatively could also end it for LFM. It is going to be a single temple phase for the next one, so it's a matter of who's willing to commit to it. And it's since it's the mid-temple, it's easy rotation, and there's going to be a blow up there onto Muradin again, Gilly.
Just did not have Avatar. HeroesHearth, I was sure that they were going to start the boss, feeling the pressure, but all they did was keep tapping it, but watching for someone to poke a toe out of line. LFM, just before they get 20, they lose Muradin now, and they may lose a whole lot more if they can't figure out a way to stop HeroesHearth here.
Dahaka moves on a point. He's holding for now. This is going to be the salvo. One member down as Blaze goes down. Ishma's going to be the next. The boss is going to be picked up. Droplets trying to make something happen. Nice wave of force going to knock him back.
Warps onto
but
him.
Two members down. There's going to be the warp. PBJ goes down. Droplets trying to survive. Does have 20, but did not have that available. It's a 2-for-3 trade. Biggie, however, has to ice block there to keep from going down. But LFM, they're holding for now. I mean, it's still grim because they've got to clear this boss. There's still a temple available. Be aware, gets a knock up from the boss there.
Man, LFM saved the game by not losing boss there, because this boss, this keep, pretty low. They're even going to be able to save the keep, likely.
I think that was Swabs, because he's the one that got the stun onto Blaze, got the interrupt onto Blaze, so no bunker was able to be used, and the salvo helped finish the deal. So again, Swabs on that Dahaka is such a playmaker. And no, HeroesHearth, they didn't even attempt to go for that temple because they didn't necessarily have the same amount of eyes, and Arthlon, he finished it, and LFM takes that KO.
I can't believe that was just so good, because we talked about the shot calling and why they gave up that temple, and then to lose Fury there when they were just about to get 20, that was just the one thing that you had going for you all of a sudden taken away, and yet 4v5, they defend, they don't get the boss, but they defend in such a manner that they clear that out, and they're the ones who get a keep down instead of HeroesHearth Esports. That bot keep is so low that if HeroesHearth wins a decisive team fight, they can just march through that on the way to core. But even still, LFM keeps hanging on in this game.
They're coming in. Dahaka's coming in, see if he can land the contagion. Swab's gonna sidestep the stun. He's looking for an opportunity. Nice wave of force, the repulsion getting valuable space. There's gonna be the bunker to help deal with that salvo as that goes in. Ring of Frost gonna lock down 2 members, but the continuous wins find a little bit of space.
Especially because Arthlon was in the back of that Ring of Frost, needed to use Wind Tunnel just to buy some space for the team to back off. Temple done, but keep is gone in the mid for HeroesHearth. Nice push with the Giants too from LFM. The Giants that they stole when Arthlon was trying to get both of the camps ended up keeping eyes on that bottom lane too, so that nobody could sneakily try to go in as easily and be able to take out that keep.
I mean, no boss for several minutes. I am watching that mini-map, seeing where those temples are gonna spawn. So it's double temple. Neither one of those, if one of them does not end the game, like one temple at this point does not end the game. It takes down keeps, but it does not end the game. So depending on how teams approach this, one team fight in this game is over in either direction. It has to be 2 to 3 members go down on one side, none on the other, and then it's a pretty easy end. Anything else, you know, we'll approach it when we get there. You can see trying to make sure that they don't lose bot keep is LFM.
Yeah, because it is top mid. They do not want catapults in that bottom lane. That is a frustration they don't want to deal with, especially when you're playing against Arthlon's Global. LFM do have catapults, but it's that mid lane that is fairly close, and with the Global should be something that HeroesHearth can keep track of around that temple phase. But yeah, HeroesHearth is out for blood.
Here they come. They're coming down. Fury and team, they're hiding over there. The minute that pops, they know. And I think that HeroesHearth, the minute that camp proc, they know. And Li Ming's going to get the poke. There's going to be a stun. That's a nice stun by Fury. Arthlon's going to be locked down at least momentarily. Ishbu comes in trying for the zoning. We're going to see continuous wins are actually going the opposite direction. Here comes the salvo.
Salvo on Arthlon, and that's almost enough to take him down. Swabs is looking to seal the deal from that. They can turn around. McIntyre and Ishbu are going to fire back forward. Droplets pretty low. Figgy got the Ancestral Healing, and both sides have used a significant amount. All of their heroic abilities used. These slows are wrecking through. This Death Bridge claims the life of Swabs.
It's still not over. They have so much more work to do. Boss will be coming up soon, but is it going to be soon enough? As this top camp plus that minion wave has now opened up even more. One temple for LFM can take down all keeps. The Siege Giants picked up at the bottom. Now we're going to see, again, the eye is under control. They're actually going to be looking towards that right now as they're starting to collapse mid. Ishbu going to try and get control of that vision. Body block's going to be there. Ishbu re-engaging here, trying to turn this fight around.
Oh, stunned out of Warp 2. Now he's Wave of Force to everything. Jet Propulsion, Droplets gone, and the stagger deaths or LFM starts. There is a Bruiser camp on the core, but there's also the Giant camp that's about to be there against LFM's core too.
I think LFM might have been a little bit in a panic situation. I'm not sure if they necessarily needed to take that fight. I feel they still had, especially having control over those keeps. Now we're looking at Murden 60 seconds away, Phoenix 40 seconds away. Double temple here will end the game against LFM. HeroesHearth going to close this out here in just a moment.
So LFM wanted to fight HeroesHearth down in the bottom after Dahaka took the bruisers. When HeroesHearth got the keep, they moved on to the Death Bridge.
Dahaka went top against Falstad.
May not be over yet, but HeroesHearth are on the core. Wind Tunnel keeping Dahaka off the point. Fury pulled back into action, or Rhaegar pulled back into action. Regardless, someone pulled back into their death. And now HeroesHearth can close out this game 3.
Okay, a few moments there where it might have had an option, but a desperation moment for LFM.
Right, but part of the problem with that is Dahaka stock points. He was so far, he had to stock in on the other side of the Death Bridge. Wind Tunnel separated him. In that amount of time with the Wind Tunnel too, Falstad lived. The healing was just enough. I think part of it was coming in onto the Death Bridge, gave a lot of healing for Malfurion and the Moonfires from that too. And not being able to get that Arthlon kill, I think it would have been a very, very different game had LFM be able to get that Falstad in. That just shows how close this game was, that LFM kept it that close in 2 of the games versus HeroesHearth. Yes, they did lose them ultimately, but bodes well for this team.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, again, swaps onto Haka, it's almost synonymous, and I think that had he was anticipating Falstead coming out of there, just missed that drag. If he lands that drag onto Arthlon, it's completely different, but he did not miss drags and other things on that boss fight when they were down 4v5. We're actually going to take a second look at that because that is where Swabs kind of had his highlight moment, something we know him to be able to do. We just pause here instantly. You hear the Brush Stalker coming in. You know it's got to be back here. So we're going to have the lockdown onto Swabs. He's going to go ahead and come through. But the primary target is going to be McIntyre here in the middle as we roll it forward. You can see his priority target. One of the other things is that he doesn't make it on here unless he pops his Dark Swarm to pass through targets. Here he's going to land onto the point. There's the Blizzard obviously coming down, but it's Swabs that makes the play. The drag lands there, cancels out any chance that Bunker goes out, and that allows the salvo. So a lot of that is Swabs getting onto the point, and that is just a start. So no Bunker save option. And then, of course, the salvo coming in. Ishbu ended up falling as well. The boss went in, but the fact that Droplets and team are able to continue to engage, obviously, Swabs trying to buy a little bit of time. Nice roots that were actually put down by BBJ. But a lot of that was Swabs. Droplets, I believe that was his Unconquered Spirit or what was left of it there. But the fact that they were able to trade out so well in such a dire moment, I mean, they had several moments that in that situation, you lose your tank right before that starts and you still take a 4v5. They ended up getting 20 right before that started. But the fact that you're still able to take a 4v5 and stay in that game, because that boss, and you don't kill anybody else, that boss probably goes down bot lane and ends. And so there for LFM to hold on in those moments were signs, I think, of good things to come, just not today.
And talk about being a new player and being willing to flank on the other side of what might be the #1 team and have that huge purification salvo. I'm wondering maybe about the Gust, if it was just coming off a cooldown, maybe it could have been used a little bit earlier to save, but not having the Bunker there, you don't want to climb into it anyway if you have to be the person on the point. Same with Bunker. There's a lot of intricacies there, but either way, we're going to check in with Ishbu, who has a 3-0 win. It was projected 3-0 or 3-1. How you doing, Ishbu?
I'm feeling great. How are you two feeling?
We're feeling pretty good. That was a really fun series. Let's take out game 2 because that was a little more dominant for you guys. But game 1 and game 3, LFM really brought it to you guys. Were you expecting that from them?
No, they definitely showed up probably a bit more than we thought. And I think a lot of that was Fury's influence on that team. Game 1, he was making a lot of right decisions. We'd like go to one-shot him and he'd jump in to try and one-shot one of our backliners at the same time. So real props to him. That being said, I think overall we're straight the more solid team. I think that did show over the course of that. Obviously the Volskaya was something we're a little bit more comfortable with, but we basically ran the same comp 3 times and challenged them to beat it. So we were pretty confident going into it.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, and specifically the Blaze. You guys have shown probably the most favor toward Blaze in week 1 and then continued that despite the 10 seconds extra for a Bunker cooldown, and even more so than Urel, who we did see LFM pick up. Where do you guys feel the support or the solo lane meta is right now? Do you feel like Urel is right up there with Blaze, or you still feel like Blaze is #1?
Urel definitely shook things up a bit, but we're still experimenting, trying to find exactly where she stands. At least in that series, the Urel felt impactful the first game, but I mean, they didn't even pick it the third game, which kind of shows, I think, a little bit their confidence in that pick on the course of the thing. But yeah, we're still just trying to place the top lane right now ourselves. As I said, we mostly just were picking because we just wanted to play one comp and see if they could even beat it. And unfortunately for them, they were not able to overcome it. So.
All right. Well, I'll jump back in toward the end of this interview, but for now I'm going to send you over to J-How. Congrats.
Gilly wants to know about the Blaze. I want to know about Johanna. You said you ran the same comp, but it's Johanna. And at mid-season brawl, Johanna went from being one of the lowest win rate heroes to one of the most impactful heroes. And now we have a buffed Johanna. Where do you see her in the current meta?
So I don't know about lowest win rate because I think at the end she started picking up win rate, especially into a lot of the meta stuff. But honestly, I considered even the first change where they gave her health instead of armor to be a buff, not a nerf, and then they buffed her again. So like, if you saw, like, I wasn't dying. Like the last game, I only died because I like walked into a ring and like messed up super hard there. But like the character does not die, and it's just really good when you want to have an unkillable front line. So I mean, like the Blaze Johanna together, our front line just was never going to die, and that's something we saw a lot of the European teams do in internationals. It's a very safe way to play.
Well, it's safe way, but you definitely have the combos worked out. Obviously, Bless Shield on a 60-second cooldown. It seems like getting the blind, the dismount into that Bless Shield is kind of the setup for a lot of those combos. I saw it early in EU last week before you guys played the Bless Shield into the Ring of Frost. Now I see you guys busting it out here, and you guys did, I think, last week as well. Are you looking at other regions? Did you already have this planned? Where did that kind of come in?
A little of this, a little of that. We're the type of team where, I mean, we're not so overconfident that we think what we're playing is always the best. We're always looking to other regions. We watch Korea, we watch EU, we try to figure out what's going through their heads. And especially internationals, when we get to talk to them and figure out what's going through their head, it's just super helpful. That being said, this was something we've kind of just been practicing a bit. When we got back from MSB, I did start playing the Johanna. I was like, all right, what's so special about this hero? Like, why were these guys first picking it? Why was Dig like first picking it? And the more I played it, the more I just kind of grew to like it. But yeah, it's just something that we've kind of been working on, and I do think she's still a very strong thing. And yes, it did originally come a bit from EU, but more specifically from the MSB than from League play.
Well, when I talked to you earlier this week, you said that you have the aspirations of being a top team here in North America, and you guys obviously are off to a good start. You guys ran the table in part 2. When you get this type of early start, you just make it back from midseason brawl. You talk about watching other regions. Obviously, people are going to start looking at you guys as more of a household name, which is obviously working out really well for you guys in the cheer department. But where do you see this team in phase 2, especially working towards Western Clash and obviously the ultimate goal of BlizzCon? Where do you see this team? Obviously, it's nowhere but up for you guys, but your individual insights, where do you see this team going forward?
I think we have a very, very reasonable shot at a first seed, both into Western Clash and into BlizzCon right now. I think our biggest challenger is who we're going to be playing Sunday, Octalysis. I think the results of that match will be very determining for the rest of the season, but I do think this team is going for potentially another 7-0 phase, provided we take this match Sunday. And even without that, I think we're placing for 2 international performances because we want to get back on the stage. We want to avenge ourselves a bit. We've lost to Dig twice now. We've lost to the Koreans as well now. So, like, we want to get back on that stage, and I think we definitely have the mindset and strength to go forward with that goal right now.
Well, you told me your teammates didn't necessarily want you to come on for interviews because you might be giving away too much. I think you did okay this week. I hope we have you back.
I tried.
I hope we have you back, man. You're always a treat to have on here, and if you're back, it means you're winning. So congratulations, man. We'll see you again in the future.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Ishbu, you talked a little bit about your match versus Octalysis Sunday, and I want to get more thoughts on that. But first, I want to hear you give your thoughts on our upcoming match today, because Octalysis and Tempo Storm are about to face off.
So we're definitely going to be watching this one. It's going to be a very meaningful match. That being said, I do give Octalysis the slight edge going into this right now. I think the loss of Psalm was actually really big on Tempo Storm, and I think they're still adjusting. So I think Octalysis has the slight edge. That being said, I do expect it to be a close and exciting series, unless Octalysis knows something that I don't, of course, or maybe Tempo, who knows. But we're going to be watching that with eyes peeled for anything we can use against Octalysis later this week.
And can I get a prediction of how you think that match with Octalysis will go for you guys on Sunday?
What is it? Do you know if it's on Central or West server?
I'm not sure.
Okay, if it's on Central, Octalysis 3-1. If it's on West, 3-2. Could go either way. Don't know.
Okay, Octalysis is home. Wait, for
Octalysis
you guys?
is home. All right, that's.
I'm asking you guys versus Octalysis.
Oh,
on
our
Sunday.
series.
Yeah.
3-0. No. Let's go. It's going to be a tight series. I think I said in one of the opening interviews, but I think it's going to be a 3-1, 3-2. I think it will be in our favor, though.
Okay. Well, good luck. Thank you for joining us. And any shout-outs before you go?
So first shout-outs are obvious here to my team. We really showed up today, as well as we showed up last week as well. We're really doing a good job there. Shout out to HeroesHearth. You have anything you want to know about Heroes of the Storm, go there. It's a great place to meet other people as well. And we've got a lot of cool merch like this awesome jersey and a lot of other shirts we've got. A lot of builds, guides, all that stuff. You should check out my teammates as well for streaming. Usually Crone likes to stream after these things. You know him. He's a stream machine. Shout out to Twitch chat. Shout out to our fans. And, of course, shout out to our coach and manager, Cawthon and Reno. They do way too much for us. They spoil us, to be honest, except for when Cawthon's mad at us. But that's another story. We made him have a little bit of a heart attack after the first game, so he owes that. We owe him that one. Anyways, and then shout out to all the people watching. You're all beautiful, lovely people, and shout out to you too, of course, for putting on this great show. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishbu. Congrats again.
Appreciate it. We got to get him back to hear whatever that story is when Cawthon gets mad.
I think you just did.
Yeah, but I want. He said
I don't think he wants to go into detail.
I think we're gonna have to get him back on here. Special request. No, I mean Ishbu for me. Ishbu told me earlier this week when we did the interviews. He's like, my team doesn't like it, because I was like, man, you're such an easy interview because he talks a lot. So it makes it easy to get stuff out of him. He's like, yeah, my team doesn't like me to go on there because I might leak something because I talk too much. So I'm glad that we did get him. I love talking to the guy.
Yeah, Ishbu is awesome. And as I said at the start of that match, it's very cool to see where he has come from, being one of our new players this year at the start of this year. Now he's one of the veterans along with the rest. And there are a lot of veterans in our next match, and it's gonna be a good one. We have so much history between the core of Octalysis and the core of Tempo Storm, but we're gonna give that to you after the break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more HGC. See you soon.
However, should get this Stormbolt